Hey everybody, welcome back to Scribbles with Jonathan. Um, there is a description underneath in the description box that is going to link you to a video where I mostly found out, and I still look at to this day, trying to understand the rulers in Manga Studio 5, and that was done by Doug Hills, the mighty Doug Hills. He's got plenty of tutorials for Smith Micro and Manga Studio. But I just wanted to talk about my workflow because I know, information comes and you hear it from different people and you register it different. So I'm just going to throw it in there. I just wanted to give the props where they're due. Definitely spend the time to watch the videos. I know some people they don't because of the time. Maybe you're busy and you got a lot of stuff to do, and I understand. So in saying all that, go check that video out, and we'll try to make this one a very, very quick one. So what I'm going to go through is my workflow and my process of how I like to use the rulers in Manga Studio 5. This is the EX version. I'm not sure if Manga Studio 5 can do this. If it can, awesome. If not, sorry. So what I have here are the basic perspectives that you would always work with in usually in comics or illustration, which is at the top here's your 1 point perspective. Second panel is your 2 point perspective. Third panel is 3 point perspective. And the fourth panel we're going to do on the fly so you guys can kind of see how I apply this sort of thing. Now, I'm taking a very general approach. As you can see in the first 1 point perspective, it's literally boxes, okay? Second one, I'm going to tilt it a little bit just to show you guys that. And the third one, we're just going to go in there. So imagine you just scanned in your thumbnails, or you just did digital roughs. These are your digital roughs. You're going to tighten it up and all that fun stuff afterwards, all that, all that cool stuff. So 1 point perspective. All you need to do is, if you look here, I should say my layout probably looks different than most of yours. It is a custom one, but what you're going to look for is, I believe, this guy here, this entire, like, your tool palette. It's pretty much standard for everybody, but what you're looking for is around the text box in this gradient. It may be something else. These may be something else, so I apologize, but what you're going to look for is this box here. It might look different for most of you. That's okay. Click it. In your sub tools, you're going to find a whole bunch of different sub tools. Okay, so it may look like this: a direct line, a frame, a ruler, streaks, I believe this is called, or streams, or something like that, and then scattered lines. What we want is this ruler. We're looking for this guy right here, perspective ruler. That's it. That's the only ruler we're going to use. Now, to think about this as in as simple, in as much simplistic way as, I'm just trying to actually think of a simple way to say this besides just showing you, but try to find something that makes sense in the perspective you're trying to get. So in this case here, this box is pretty prominent. I'm trying to do that so you guys can see it. The idea is, all you're worrying about is the perspective. You're going to drag this line, this perspective ruler, twice to make a vanishing point. Okay, so what you're going to do is look for vanishing points, not necessarily the horizon or the vertical or plumb line, just the vanishing point. So pick them. Okay, so we're going to pick this plane here, the side of the cube. So you could click at a box you have and start dragging, and you're going to see it's going to start getting jittery and jaggedy and very, like, sensitive. But the further you drag your cursor out, it starts to get more precise. Okay, so we'll say it was right there. Now we need an intersecting point, so we're going to go with this bottom one. So I'm just going to click there again, and as you can see, it's all fidgety until you move your cursor out and it starts to feel a little bit more controllable. You click it, you're done. Okay, what that instantly did was put a vanishing point right here. Okay, and it added your plumb line and your horizon line. Now everything you do will be snapped to that. So if your gesture, like we have it here, is faintly drawn in, and you can understand where this is going, this is probably a more of a medium advanced sort of technique here. But just say that was our underdrawing. Let's just turn it blue just so that you guys can make sense of all this. I'll grab my pen, and let's just say I wanted to start getting real tight with it. Up here at the top, snap to special ruler. Make sure that's on, okay? And don't worry about if you can see this ruler or not. Sometimes you can just create it on the layer. I'm not going to get into all that stuff. Watch the Doug Hills video for that. I'm just trying to show you guys how you can do this for literally on the fly. If you click your perspective ruler, there's a little tab that comes up here that's called set showing area of the ruler. If you click the drop down box on that and you just unclick it, you'll see it go away. Okay? just want to see something actually. Yeah, okay, it won't show up anywhere there. But let's just click it, showing all layers just for the sake of this. And let's just draw it in here. So as you can see, it's snapping right away. And I'm going to try and do this, as if this was done for production. No real gesture lines or anything underneath. And you can always just toggle that on and off if you want to get some weird shapes going in there. I'll bring the perspective line back in. So as you can see right away, this is very, very quick. And this is a 1-point perspective. All you really need to worry about is finding the vanishing points. Okay? What plane are you drawing that's vanishing? Okay, that's the line you want. So let me just delete this perspective layer because we're not going to need it anymore. So what we're going to do is the exact same thing, but 2-point perspective. Okay. Now I didn't address tilting your horizon line in the 1-point perspective. I wanted to keep that real simple. The second one, think of it this way. All we're doing is now, instead of just finding one vanishing point of a plane or of the cube, we're going to find the other side as well. Okay. And if it's curved, as you can see, like in this cube, it's just perfectly straight. We don't need a vanishing point for that. But in the case of this, where we have this like train or whatever the hell this is, or you can see how I gestured in that these lines here are going to a vanishing point, but the opposing lines on those blocks are going to another one. That's all we're going to do. But we're also going to tilt the horizon, which is very easy as well. So we're going to get ready to do the second panel here. Grab your whatever the hell that is, ruler tool, perspective ruler, and treat it just like we just did, okay? So you can see this is very clear that there's a 1-point perspective here. So you don't have to click right at the intersections. If you want, it's a little bit more precise to the gesture that you had underneath. That one's good. We'll click down here. We'll make a second one. And bang, it's the exact same thing we just did, 1-point perspective. But we're not done yet. We want a 2-point perspective. So what I like to do is you can tilt this right away. What I'll do is just tilt it first. And to tilt, all you need to do is go up to the top here and look for, if I get the pen to stop jittering, what that tool is called. Something. Operation or object selector. Click that. Literally click the perspective ruler, and you can just click and drag the blue here. Where is it? This one? Nope. Okay, you see the little crosses that are there? Let me just zoom in so you can see them. Right here, these X's that are there, that's what you're going to want to click, and you can just drag it to get any kind of horizon line you want, okay? This is, imagine it's just more like a more dynamic shot, right? You'd see this all the time in any comics, really. Very rarely do you see shots like this unless it's an establishing shot for a certain reason. Mostly things tilt like that. So we have that. Let's go back to the ruler, and we're going to just pick, because it's simple, this side here. We'll do this guy up here, bang. And you don't have to go all the way underneath it. You can just, all you're doing is getting 2 points. And if I zoom out, you'll see you're going to get a vanishing point right on the horizon there, okay? So there we go. We got our vanishing points all set up. Let's grab our inking tool, and I'll do the background here first. So we'll say this is some sort of like a train station or something. Maybe it's got some guardrails. You got this side here. So you can see how quickly this stuff works. Now I know there are some other things. If you watch the Doug Hills video again, he will show you how to open up with like actual putting grids everywhere. I'm going to show you how I do that in the panel that we're going to do. Okay, so let's get the side of this train or whatever the hell this guy is. I don't know exactly what this is. I like to work in Manga Studio 4. There was this with the same tool here in this ruler, saturation ruler. You can get these speed bursts. I don't really like it so much in this version. I really liked the Manga Studio 4 version, but I'll show you what I do here real quick, just to do. Real sloppy with this. And some of these things will take some time, like we're getting into complex shapes here with like circles and stuff. But so now that I have a 1-point perspective, I can just start sketching in like this. It does need some cleanup. really doesn't take too long to get a nice, speed line happening here. And I'll see you're gonna get action like that, so you can't go totally crazy. But my hand when I'm doing this is just, I feel very sloppy doing this. Some of those lines aren't going 100%, but hopefully you guys can kind of see what I'm getting at. Just let me delete that perspective ruler because we're not going to need that. And that's basically, just clean this up so it's not spilling over into the other layers. But the one thing that I definitely do like of this over Mega Studio 4 anyway is how fast you can start throwing in perspective. Okay. Now I realize these are all very ugly. Now the last one we'll do before we jump into like an actual practical application is this guy here, a 3-point perspective. I'm choosing to do the worm's eye view, which would be a worm looking up. We literally have a snaky worm thing at the bottom here. We're gonna have a bench and some people. So let's start it like we normally do, okay? So pick a plane that you've got, okay? Here we go. We got the side of the bench. So bang, we got 1 perspective, 2 perspective. Cool. And I'm not going to tilt it. Let's see if we can get away with it. You can see I have a slight curve in it. That's me doing what I was doing. I'm not going to have that in the finished one here. So pick that side of the bench and that side of the bench. Bang. As you can see, I think it actually did tilt. Yep, the horizon line is actually tilted. Kind of cool. That's fine. And again, one more vanishing point, the third one. Pick a plane. So let's pick the front here of the chair or of the bench, and this one's kind of coming in like that, and we're done. So now I can just start inking on top of this. Let me turn that off there so we can get the snaky worm thing. Whatever. Whatever that is. So make sure you always have your special ruler on, and let's draw the bench that we gestured in. And don't be afraid to change your lines up a bit in this stage, because hopefully your gesture wasn't 100% correct. And I say hopefully because you can get all the information you need in a gesture, and you're not meant to spend a whole bunch of time perfecting drawings when you're doing gestures or sketches or just doing thumbnails, right? That's what they're called thumbnails for. What this does show you though is that you can take a tightened sketch up and still do this sort of thing. So we wouldn't really worry about it too much. And I have my people kind of in there, so I'll just gesture where those guys would be. We'll say that one's there, one's here, and you can see right away that these guys are way off from what I had. Okay, so there you go. There's your 3-point perspective. Now, let's do this practical. Let's get, again, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time making it look as pretty as possible. I just want to show you guys how this can be done on the fly as you're actually working, okay? Hopefully you guys have at least gotten comfortable with the perspective tool so far and seeing how literally fast, as long as you're thinking in that way, pick something and follow those vanishing points to that object. It'll always work, okay? Just don't start randomly picking points. Don't try to make a point and then add things to it. For me anyway, it doesn't seem to really work that way. So that's where this kind of comes into play, that the better grasp of perspective you have, all of this comes a little easier. So I want to do a 3-point perspective. I want to have, I don't know, we'll do some buildings because they're squares. It's always a little simpler. So maybe we got, who do we got here? We've got some character, some superhero. Why not? Everybody likes superheroes. Why is this so small? So she said. Okay. So we got some character hunched over. We can be Spider-Man-y, Batman-y. He's looking down at a city. So what I'm thinking right away is, all right, let's put this character in a place, okay? So he'll be on a rooftop. Now I can already see what I'm doing right now, just where I'm structuring this out, okay? Where I have this line right here, again, just like how you'd worry about doing perspective. That line is telling me a lot. So what I'll do is I'll take that and I'll just start sketching left and right. And eventually we're going to come up thinking of an actual perspective that's over there. Like some vanishing point is way over here. I know that, like, look at these lines, they're going everywhere, but it's giving me information that's going to help me out big time. So here we go, we got this side here, kind of going like that. I like maybe this line coming here like this. So now we know it's a 3-point perspective, right? So now I can go in here and I can just go, all right, I'm picking these lines roughly that I see to do some skyscrapers. And what I'm going to do is actually show you guys something else that's really cool besides just what I'm doing here, where this is like the practical version of it, okay? So that would be that. I would probably still tighten up the anatomy of the character. That's, you know, a different video, whatever. So now that I know we're going into production, okay, click that perspective ruler tool and pick planes. Okay, so I know right here, bang, this this line that this character's on. Whoops, let me just undo that. Okay, so click, drag. I can't see the other side of it, so what I'm going to have to do is rely on something else in the image. So this building here. All right, so there, bang, got a vanishing point. Let's do the other one. So we got this side here, and we'll pick that line there. All right, we got that. And now we just need the up and down perspective, or the plumb line. So click that, there we go, we're done. Okay, so we're just going to do what we've been doing this whole time. Whoops, let me get some black ink. Turn the perspective off, get some gnarly framework or whatever the hell these things are called. The side of the building, okay. Alright, so there you go, we got like where he would be the character, or she. And we're just going to gesture in these other buildings. And what's happening is this, you can see right here, like this is pretty off. But this city is taking shape very fast, right? The amount of work that started with this, you know, to get to this stage, not really that big of a deal. All right, so we have here, now let's figure out how we're going to get like windows on there. As you can see, what I was trying to do is pick from my scribbles the lines that I would like. This looks good to me. That's what we want. But this isn't my finished line art layer, okay? So let me just turn off the sketches so we can see it. What I'm going to do is, I'm still locked to perspective, okay? I'm quickly just throwing in my grid, okay? I can even go real light with it. And I'm doing just what I did with that speedline stuff, just going real quick. Cool stuff. And we'll do the other side. For me anyway, this helps me big time. And I know this right here, what I'm doing, might seem like this is the part that sucks with drawing perspective, but this right here is way more, I used to do this in Manga Studio 4 as well, but this feels more traditional. There are settings you can turn on to sort of do this. I don't really like the way they work in Manga Studio. Okay, so we've got that. Then I would turn that blue, you know, and then we'd make a new layer. And all right, now I know which lines, like on this guy, I want for sure. This building back here, I know where my windows and stuff would go, you know, so I could go in here and be like, all right, so let's cheese out and do this style of building. There's still a lot of perspective work you got to do here, right? Like, you can't just phone this in. Like, there are perspective rules for when shapes are coming at us and going away from us. It's nice to at least be aware of it. I don't think you necessarily have to follow it. It does look good when you do, but I've seen some people do some amazing things with perspective that doesn't make sense. So there you go. So now we're getting closer to it. The last thing I wanted to show you guys was What if something else is still in the shot, but the perspective for it is different? So like if there was a chair in the scene, or heaven forbid, the buildings don't all go to the same perspective, right? So what you would do is, you're gonna love this. Make sure that perspective layer is still clicked. All you gotta do is literally make another perspective. Okay, so I'm back on the same layer here. What I'm going to do is gesture in what it is that I'm talking about. So maybe instead of having, pardon me, I don't know exactly what these are called, but like this roof escape or roof thing, whatever that's on there, so you can get on the roof to clean it, whatever you got to do. Maybe it doesn't follow the same perspective of the building for some reason. Maybe it goes like something like this. Kind of like a 1 point perspective, right? Maybe that's the way I'm looking at it. You can tell it looks really effed up, but hey, why not? That's the perspective I want, okay? So let's go to the perspective layer again. Click on your ruler tool, and guess what? We're just going to do the exact same thing we've already done with this. Bang. That's 1 point, and there it is. So it's created a perspective based on what you have. Now, you can also go ahead and click on the horizon line that's up here, and just go, okay, there's one. I'm making a 1 point perspective. There you go. So there it is. It made it on there. You can see it's not exactly on the horizon. You can click it on like that just by clicking the object selector tool. And what we're going to do is just draw the sides of this thing. And it'll still snap to that. So this is very gross. Like, ugh. The perspective's correct, but I'm just trying to show you guys how you would add something else in perspective that's not necessarily on there, but still have the same snapping tool. Anyway, I'm going to get out of here. I didn't want this video to be too long. There's plenty of videos out there that you guys can watch. Hopefully this was one of those that helped you out in some way. Just showing you how quickly you can just click this layer, bang, throw on your perspective over top of the gesture, thumbnail. Very small version, very quick version of what you have. If you are one of those people that likes to work with a grid and then build on top of it, I still highly recommend very quickly sketching in a rough idea in your head of a perspective on paper, then just snapping your perspective guides in there, and then just doing what I just did with the pen tool and just make a bajillion lines, and then you can lower the opacity, you can do whatever you want, right? You can lower all those lines so you can still see it, build your figures up, and then do it again. All very easy stuff. So thank you guys so much for watching. Go check out Doug Hill's video after this. Tell him I said hi. Tell him I sent you. And until the next video, you guys, keep reading comics, keep making comics, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.